So I just want to start off by saying that this is a very short glimpse into the colonial relationship between the United States and Puerto Rico. But I hope this video brings you curiosity and knowledge. So, the colonization of Puerto Rico started in 1493 when the island fell under Spanish rule. Then, after the Spanish and American War, the island fell under American rule in 1898. The deepest scars of colonialism itself are hard to see. It's a social experiment, a multi-layered system of explicit and implicit controls designed to strip colonized people of their culture, confidence, and power, with tools ranging from brutal military and police aggression used to put down strikes and rebellion, to a law that once banned the Puerto Rican flag, to the dictates handed down today by the unelected fiscal board. Residents of this island have been living under the web of control for centuries. So there was a parade and a festival for love and equality, and it had its own Puerto Rican flair to it. So it was very different, but also very similar to the celebrations that we have here on the mainland.
Hello, my name is Paul Rando. I am a program director with All Hands and Hearts Smart Response, a volunteer-powered natural disaster recovery agency. I personally have limited experience observing the colonial relationship between the U.S. federal government and Puerto Rico, gathered after spending a year doing response work on the island. But essentially what I've observed in my time is a lack of motivation on behalf of the federal government to offer the island the same basic aid and supplies they would offer to the mainland United States. During my time on the island of Puerto Rico, I also discovered through extensive interaction with local communities that the population of the island, even now, more than over a century after falling under U.S. control, remains divided over the question of statehood. Many people I spoke to supported statehood for voting, and also to get the benefit of federal funds and higher social benefits like Social Security and Medicare, while many others that I spoke to did not believe that additional bureaucratic oversight by the federal government would actually better benefit the territory at all.
There were two needs that communities on the island desperately needed. The first was rebuilds, restorations, and repairs of roofs, and the second was cleaning and muck and guts of homes that had been flooded. The city that you see now, Toa Baja, Puerto Rico, was not only hit by Hurricane Maria, but they also experienced 18 feet of flooding because of a dam that was opened upstream of them during the storm because it was going to break. And so they opened it, and then the city was completely underwater. And so the majority of the people that All Hands and Hearts was helping were people who didn't have adequate proof or documentation that the home they lived in was actually their home, because a lot of homes on the island are passed down through generations. And so if the deed didn't have your name on it, if you didn't have any type of proof that it was your house, FEMA refused to help people. They refused to fix roofs. They refused to clean out houses. Hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans have been displaced because of this. The colonial history of experiments in Puerto Rico range from population control in the 1960s that sterilized more than 1/3 of Puerto Rican women to drug testing and military warfare testing on the island of Vieques, right off the coast of Puerto Rico. The economy of Puerto Rico has been colonized through labor exploitation, monoculture, privatization of public services like public education, and tax breaks for U.S. businesses and manufacturers. this house that I worked on is by far the worst I have seen over my 2 months in Puerto Rico. And so this family was hit by the flash flood, and as soon as they could, they moved to the mainland with some family that they have here, just because of the economic destruction on the island right now. There was no room to find a job or anything like that, and so the family took nothing with them. And I remember walking in and just thinking, like, how can we leave people to die, basically? Naomi Klien writes, in 2009, Puerto Rico's governor passed a law declaring an economic state of emergency and used it to lay off more than 17,000 public sector workers and strip negotiated benefits and raises from many more. This is at a time when the unemployment rate was 15%, and since then it has risen. In 2016, Congress passed Promesa, a law that put Puerto Ricans' finances under control of a newly created Financial Oversight and Management Board, all members appointed by the U.S. President. Continuously, Puerto Ricans have resisted the colonial relationship from the U.S. There is a rich history of locals fighting for their freedom. Most recently, right before Hurricane Maria, Puerto Ricans were resisting an unlawful $70 billion debt between the U.S. and the island, the movement calling for an independent audit of the debt.